Yeah.
Welcome to the King's Table. Today we're joined by Jashandeep, Kahlon, former college athlete, current law school student. Welcome, Justin, to the King's Table. Thank you, man, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So,
Appreciate you guys.
tell the audience a little bit about yourself, what you're doing right now, and where you're from, and stuff like that.
So I'm born and raised in Stockton, California. I played basketball since I was like 5 years old, I think. And I originally went to Brookside Christian High School, played there, and then I went to San Francisco City College for 2 years, and then I chose to go to San Francisco State, play basketball there, and graduated last year. So now I'm in law school at McGeorge in Sacramento.
For sure. I mean, first thing I noticed when you walked in the room, I'm 6'4". I think I'm pretty tall. I've always been like the tallest in my family, and then he just like miniaturized me. He's just like 6'9". I was like, damn.
Yeah, I feel normal in my house.
First thing you walked in the room is like, oh man, we gotta increase this roof right here.
Our walls are 8 foot high. His head's scraping on the bottom of them.
We also got another guest on the King's Table. We got George Buller, co-CEO of the Young Kings Foundation. Introduce yourself, man. Welcome to King's Table.
You just gave me my intro. I'm Britt Ball's brother. We started Young Kings, the podcast, kind of just to give a platform for Punjabis, whether creatives or artists or musicians or anybody who's doing good work in the community to have a voice. So Justin was one of the people we wanted to interview because he's very unique, not only in his size and stature, but in the work that he does. And it's rare to see someone be a college athlete in our community, period, but then to go on and have a professional career after that in law school. So I think he's a unique personality. I'm glad we have a chance to talk to him.
For sure, man. So what was your mom and dad's height? Going back to your height.
So my mom is 5'11". My dad is 6'6", 6'7". Yeah, that's why I feel like I'm normal in my house. And
Dad, that's crazy.
My brother is 6'11", so
yeah.
I don't even feel like super tall. My house is like, we have really tall doors, tall roofs and stuff. So I don't know, it just feels normal to me.
Is it true that your father actually played basketball for the Punjab police team?
Yeah. So he played basketball there. So he was really like the one that pushed me to really play. When I was young, I remember he would come home from work and we would just play outside and we had a little hoop set up and like he would teach me these moves because he was a big man too.
Yeah.
And his story is pretty unique actually too. He was actually just sweeping the floors for them for the longest time. Was never like a person on the team. Like he tried and they were just like, no, like you're not good enough. And he would sweep the floors and just clean up. But he used to watch just every day and just learn.
Yeah.
And actually different from me, he's a defensive specialist.
Like your brother.
Just like my brother. So so I guess like one day at practice they had like their best guy who was just killing everyone. And like my dad was like, oh, give me a chance. And he went out there and he locked him up. And then after that, it just kept growing and growing. So that's kind of where I got my passion and my drive from.
That's pretty dope, man. So you started playing ball ever since you were 6?
Yeah, 5 or 6 years old. I used to just, I know I used to come home from school and just like replicate like basketball games in my head and just play by myself. But I think I started playing like organized in leagues when I was like 8 or 9, but like nothing serious until like later on.
Who were the people that you modeled your game after, looked up to? So your dad had big man moves, he had defense, but
yeah.
Who else were you looking at?
I would probably say during that time, maybe Dirk. I liked Dirk game a lot. He could shoot the ball. He had great footwork. He was athletic in his young career, but after that, he wasn't the most athletic guy. So I just loved his game, and that's kind of who I modeled it at the beginning towards.
So you started at Brookside Christian High School. Were you playing alongside your brother at that time or just by yourself?
So I originally started at Bear Creek High School.
Okay.
So my freshman, sophomore year, I played at Bear Creek. And then I transferred because I didn't feel like I was getting an opportunity that I could do well in.
Mm-hmm.
So Brookside Christian's a super small school. It only had like 160 kids.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and I went from being, a really big school to a really small school. But I think that really helped me a ton because it helped me focus on my goals and just kind of be more like I knew what I was doing there every single day.
Mm-hmm. And what's the age difference between you and your brother?
So my brother is 26. I'm 22.
Okay, so there's the age difference there.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So when I was a freshman at Bear Creek, he was playing varsity as a senior.
Gotcha.
But,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And then, so we transitioned to after high school, you go into San Francisco City College.
Yeah.
Did you just decide to go there, or were you recruited by City College?
Yeah. So what happened was I honestly didn't really think like I would play college basketball. Like I never even thought of it. Like I'm gonna go play in college. I just played just because I liked it.
Wow.
And like when I transferred to Brookside, my trainer, Elite IQ Hoops, he
Shout out
Elite IQ Hoops. Yeah. He really like showed me like, dude, like you can do something with this.
Gave you the confidence.
Yeah, and I started working with him like just months before I transferred to Brookside, and and he just kind of just convinced me that like, dude, you can do something. And so when I got to Brookside, I started focusing more, or like training more for that purpose, and at that point, I was never like, I want to go D1 or I want to go to the NBA. I was kind of just like, if I play in college, that'd be great. Like I'll get my stuff paid for, and that's cool. And like once I graduated from Brookside, I had like a lot of small D3 NAIA schools, and I was still ecstatic about it because I was like, this is cool. I want to do it. And but I knew the reputation that San Francisco City had. I didn't want to go to the junior college route, but I remember telling my mom actually because SF City had a game against Delta in the playoffs, and my brother was playing at Delta, so we went to go watch in SF. And I remember telling my mom, and I was like, if I go JUCO, I'm going here. Like, I'm not going nowhere else. But, SF City is known to have, like, top guys. Like, a lot of guys that play D1 and come back for a year to go somewhere else. They go to SF City. They always get guys out. They always win. They're always nationally ranked. So, my trainer also actually kind of helped me with the opportunity. One of the coaches kind of saw me play and asked about me, and then they just told me that they wanted me to come play up there, and I really couldn't say no to that. I just knew that I would get a much better opportunity over there.
I guess I have one question because you mentioned being introduced to the trainer like sophomore, junior year.
Yeah.
So who made that introduction? Because we have so many Punjabis who play high school basketball, but they probably don't have exposure to professional training and that network.
Yeah.
So what was that like?
So the funny thing is, so he actually wasn't like he's pretty big now as a trainer. At that point, he wasn't like up there like that, and he was just training some local kids, and he had experience with guys that were really good, but he wasn't known like that. So he was training kids locally, like you would just hear the name a couple times around the area, and then my brother started working out with him first, and he really like pushed my brother, and I was just like, no, I don't want to work out with him because I hated doing hard work, so I was like, I'm not working out with him. And then eventually I was like, all right, like I'm gonna give it a try, and then we went over to 24-Hour Fitness and got like a workout in. And I think one of the things with my relationship with him was he kind of saw from that point, I already had like a feeler for the game. I had a good touch, I had skill, but there was like a next level that could have been reached. And like, that's what he really brought. Whereas like a lot of kids that he trains, he starts them from scratch. Like my brother was built from scratch. Whereas with me, he kind of like, I had game, but he kind of broke me down and built me back up to a game that was next level.
That's great. How important is it to have that role model? Like, do you think if it wasn't for him that you wouldn't have the confidence that you have today?
No, I wouldn't. When I play, I think I'm the best player out. No matter where I play. I talk a lot, and you guys know that I always talk. I talk like I'm the best guy out, and he really like made that happen because that's how he is. When we work out, like you start working out for a bit, and you learn these new moves, and then you're like, oh, like okay, I'm good now. And then we'll be like, oh, let's play one-on-one real quick or something, and he'll just murder us. And he'll talk like, you're not good yet. Like, you're not that good. Like, and just, and I'll be like, damn, like, that's intimidating. And, like, once I started becoming, more into myself and becoming better and better, I started taking that quality in and just saying, like, nobody here can mess with me. And my biggest thing has always been, I never want to go into a game with fear of, like, oh, like, I don't know if I can hang with these guys because you already lost the battle at that point. There's there's no point even physically playing if you go in and you just know these guys are better than me. There's no point.
I think that's a great point too, because if you watch high school hoops over time, there's a lot of showy moves. And, but like people like ball people call him soft because you get under his skin. But I think what you said is so important that you have to have that kind of dog in you a little bit,
mentality,
have toughness that when you walk into a room or walk into a court, you think you're the best in the world.
Yeah.
And that's for any field, any career, basically. I think
Yeah.
And so you need mentors who are going to tell you what's real,
Yeah.
and not like just gas you up and say you're the best.
Yeah, and like I know I'm not the best. Like,
Yeah.
like when I go play it, and I played in college, I knew I wasn't the best guy out, but I would walk in and be like, dude, you can't hang with me, dude. Like, there's no way.
Yeah, and I think that's so important to have like a role model, and regardless of what field you're in, to have that role model that kind of push you and give you that confidence,
Yeah.
it takes you a long way. Like you were telling your story about your trainer,
Yeah.
and look where you are now. So we'll give him a big round of applause for him.
My brother also has a big role with that too. He's man, that guy. He always pushed me, no matter what. Like, it doesn't matter how I play. He'll be at the end of the game, be like, "Dude, you could have did this instead." Like, what are you doing? And he deserves a lot of credit for where I'm at too, because there was a lot of times in my younger career when I would feel complacent with where I was at, and he would just be like, "Dude, like, you only had 12. You could have had 20 if you did this better," or something like that. So he's someone that always pushed me. He always said that I could take my game to higher levels and stuff like that. So my trainer and my brother probably deserve the most credit for my on-court stuff.
And that's crazy. I did play basketball starting in high school, right? He didn't start as young.
Yeah, honestly, he didn't really play basketball seriously until he was 18.
That's crazy.
And like he was like on the team in high school, but he wasn't playing like ever. He was like a 6'9" guy, 6'7", 6'8", during high school, and just on the team not playing. And then his senior year. He didn't play either, but he went to Delta College. He tried out for the team, and they told him, like, no, you're not good enough. So he gray-shirted for his first year. And that's when he really started working with Omar more and more, Elite Hoops. And he just transformed into, like, an animal, dude. And it's like, if you guys have seen him play, like, he's not the most skilled guy, but he outworks everybody at all times. And like, he's built his career off of outworking people. And that's what, like, that's amazing to me, because there's so many guys out there that train every day on skill set, right? But how many people can really play hard for 40 minutes, 48 minutes every play?
Yeah. So kind of transitioning back to SF City College in your first 2 years there, you were all first team, right?
Yeah, my freshman year I was all conference.
You guys' record was what, 32-1 that year?
So my sophomore year we were 32-1. My freshman year we were like 23-7, I think, something like that. So so I was all conference as a freshman. But that freshman year was probably the toughest year of my life, and that's just because once first of all, I was 17 years old going from Stockton to San Francisco.
Yeah.
So I was seeing a whole new life. I was on my own for the first time, and it was tough, man. I remember first getting there, and like I was telling you, those guys that play at City are real deal guys.
Yeah.
And when I got there, I was like intimidated, and I was just like, I don't even know if I can hang. Like, I don't know if I'm good enough to play with these guys. And that really broke me down for like the first 3 months. I just like I got into like a field of depression for a little while, and I stopped going to school. I would just stay in my apartment. I wouldn't go to school. I wouldn't go to practice, and I would go home every single weekend and like just stay in my bed, or just my parents like not want to go, because I just felt like I don't belong there. Like I just thought that wasn't for me. But slowly but surely, like my brother, he pushed me and kind of showed me like, dude, you can do it. And I think it just took me like one game, and I was barely playing. I was like 3 minutes a game, and then like there was just one game where I just had like, I think I had like 15 and 13 or something in a game, and double, my first double in college. And then after that, I just flipped a switch, and I was like, all right, I got it. And then like after that, I just went on a streak of just killing, and then we won the conference championship, and then it was named all first conference.
I guess I have a question going back to kind of the mental aspect of all this. Like you said, you struggle with being away from home, kind of fit into the culture and being an athlete, all these different things. So, what besides like your brother pushing you brought you out of that state?
Remembering why I was doing it. That's what probably pushed me the most, because my parents, like most Punjabi parents or immigrants, come here, sacrifice so much for us, right? So when I was, training to play in college and stuff like that, they would always tell me, like, are you sure you want to do this? Like, like you can just go to school and just get your degree and that's it. And I convinced them many times, like, no, this is what I want to do. I want to play. This is what I want to do. And like, I'm sure they had tons of times where they doubted whether I was going to be able to do it or whether I was going to be able to play and all that stuff. So, I think I kind of just got to that point where I was like, I'm here to not only prove to myself that I'm, that I can do this at a higher level, but also for my parents. I got a free education out of it, and saved my parents a ton of money, and just to kind of have them be proud of me, and that's was one of the things I really wanted. It's just like like for all of us, we want our parents to be proud, right? But I just felt like I didn't do anything yet. That was just I mean I was very young still, but I just felt like I was just so longing for that feeling of them just being proud of me, and like. I know like my mom doesn't really understand basketball, but my dad is like the one that's really like into basketball. So like I remember when I got first team all conference, I didn't even think I was gonna get it. I had no idea that I got it, and I got it, and my dad was just like super proud of me. And he's like a super like tough guy, like doesn't ever like show love. Like the first time I ever heard him say I love you to me, it was just like crazy.
Wow.
But yeah, it was like so like that for me was like all right, like I got it now, and then. After that, I just built off, confidence throughout my future, and I had many goals that I wanted to accomplish, and that's just kind of what drove me.
Once you crack through and get to like that first sign of success, then you start craving the next one.
Exactly.
I think you're speaking for a lot of student athletes as well. It's so hard to transition into that lifestyle because you're away from home, like you said yourself, and just the everyday lifestyle is kind of hard.
Yeah.
But then after those 2 years, you went to SF State, right?
Yeah.
And that's where it kind of blew up, right? So you started playing with your brother too. He transferred out of Delta and then went to State?
So when I was at my first year at SF City, he was transferring to SF State to play there. So,
did you guys talk about that, saying, "Oh, we both want to play there"?
No, I never wanted to go to SF State. Actually, I actually was just like, I'm never going to SF State, like, because honestly, like, I'll talk about that a little more. When I was being recruited, I had over 10, 12 scholarship offers, and originally I was being recruited by some Division I schools like Seattle U, Texas Southern, Cal State Fullerton, like very minimally, nothing serious. But and then it ended up working out, so I ended up having a lot of D2 schools instead. And so I took a couple visits, I seen schools, but I just figured like SF State would be crazy, like if I went there and like we played together. And but they were never like, they were a middle of the pack type of school. They weren't a high ranked D2 school or anything like that. But then once I got there and like, we had a couple other guys coming at the same time and we really just blew it up from there.
And that transition was probably a lot easier because you have your brother in college with you. So it's probably, you have somebody to rely on, you have somebody to talk to.
Yeah, he was, it was cool. It was like up and down because when I first got there, like I said, I never wanted to go to state. I thought I was a lot better than that. So I had like this thing where I was like, all right, like I'm about to come in here and just kill it. That didn't happen. Like first 2-3 games went by and I was like, had 0 points every game. I was like, whoa, like this is not what I expected. But, it humbled me to realize, first and foremost, something I realized is like, high level Division II basketball and like mid-major low Division I basketball, there's a very small difference between those two things, and that like really showed me because I played with guys that should be playing really good Division I level basketball on SF State's team, and and then it just comes down to a lot of things like exposure and stuff like that. But I never regret any of my whatever I did. It was great. But
all right, we're back from the break. Welcome to King's Table. We got Jashandeep, Kahlon. So we're talking about SF State and how that transition was going for you, going from City College to SF State, now playing with your brother. Mm-hmm. Can you go in depth with a little bit about that?
Yeah, he really helped me a ton as far as transitioning mentally and physically, really, because, you go from junior college where everyone really is there to get a scholarship somewhere else. Whereas SF State, you're there because, or any four-year university, you're there to win. You're there to make your own name, with the team though. It's ultimately a team-oriented thing now. And so he helped me really transition to the point where like my goal was, we gotta win. We gotta put our school on the map and just stuff like that. SF State, like I was saying earlier, they weren't a top school as far as D2s goes, or even like locally. Like no one really knew about SF State's basketball program or anything like that. And they were middle of the pack, always like above 500 team, nothing crazy, but he helped me a ton when it came to knowing what to expect. I would say the most. That summer when I finished at SF City, going to SF State, he really pushed me to like know like this is what they're gonna expect out of you, and if you don't want to be that player that's coming in and getting used to things and finally figuring it out, this is what you got to do right now to be ready to play right away. And we worked out all summer, and so I was playing right away. I was playing about 20, 21 minutes a game as soon as I got there. I did struggle a lot at the beginning just because, like I said, I thought I was a lot better than that position, and then I realized very quickly that this is real deal basketball here too. This is real deal, and my coaches also told me too, like I know you're coming from a JUCO where they all go to big schools, but this is tough basketball, and I learned quickly, like the stuff that I was doing during college and stuff, like as far as my moves and like they weren't working at first. I had to realize like my pace had to be faster, my shot had to be quicker. I had to put more time, more effort into all those things to become a better basketball at that level. And my biggest thing was I never wanted to be a player or a person that was just on the team. There's like a lot of even in our culture, you hear sometimes like people being on the team at a school or something, and they don't really play or they don't, they're not really a part of it. That's still something to be proud about that you're on the team, but for me, I wanted to play. I wanted to put my mark on a school. I wanted to put my mark in my culture that I did something with it. So I really pushed myself towards
that. And so also at SF State, you guys had a great record, and you guys actually made it to the NCAA tournament, which was, major for you because you probably never expected that much media attention and being in this stage now.
Yeah. So that year, my junior year, when I played with my brother, we were 26-5, and it was the best record in school history. Was it the NCAA tournament first time in 25 years?
That's crazy.
And I don't think anybody on our team really expected that to happen. But there was one game that really, I think that one game made our entire season. We played Western Oregon, who was number 4 in the nation, and we were 3-0 at the time, 4th game of the year. We're going to their house. And it was their banner night. They had their final, because they went to the Final Four previous year, and they, unveiled the banner, all this stuff. And usually when you have those games, you schedule a team you're going to beat, just because you want to have that, like you don't want to lose on those type of nights. And so, we go into their house and we're playing them, and we end up going to 4 overtimes, I believe, and we beat them at their house. And that's when we're 4-0. And I remember going to the locker room. And our coach was crazy. He was he was a great coach. He just loved being all silly and stuff like that. So we got into the locker room and started throwing water bottles around and just showed up like we was winning a championship. But I think that game really gave us the confidence to know that we can beat anybody. And shout out to AJ. AJ had his career game. He had 28 points, 23 rebounds against Western Oregon that game. And I think that game also built his senior year because he never had a real career, a big career before that. Yeah. But that game really set him up for the rest of the year as well.
So let's talk about that a little bit, like building team chemistry, leadership, coaching, and the dynamics of internal workings of a basketball team. So what allowed that team to thrive? What did the leaders of the team do that helped bring people together? What was the coaches like?
So one of the things was it was very easy for me. Just because all the players, we had 12 players, I believe, but the main 8 or 9 guys, all of them played on the team the previous year. I was the only new upcoming guy that transferred in that played right away. And so I think that was a big factor into it because all those guys knew how each other played. And for my game, I can fit in very easily. I don't demand the ball. I can score when I get it, but I fit in very easily. I helped the rest of the team out. And so when I got there, and the crazy thing is I used to hang out with all those guys, even when AJ was there, because I was hanging out with my brother, and they'd all be around. So we all knew each other. I already knew them. I used to go in I used to see Coach Trev, our coach at SF State. He used to see me all the time. We knew each other. We already had a bond before I was going there. Yeah. So, and once that happened, it was kind of just all right, I'm all in now, and we're all going to work. And AJ was one of the captains. We also had our point guard, Coley Apse, our shooting guard, Nick Calcaterra. They were our seniors, and they really built the chemistry. And we did everything together, man. 1 through 12, we would always be together. We used to go out. We used to go to parties, all that stuff. But everybody was going. There, a lot of teams have cliques. A lot of teams have, sometimes the starters think they're better than the rest of the guys, and only they go to things, separately from the rest of the guys. And we never had that. No guy ever felt like I'm below the team or I'm above the team. We all knew our best player was Warren Jackson. He was an All-American that year. But it was we all knew at the bottom, at the end of the day, that he's our best guy. But we all treat each other like, if you don't perform today, we're not going to win. So it wasn't just on Warren. It wasn't just on my brother. It wasn't just on those guys. Like, it was all, we all need each other to do it. So I think that was one of the biggest things, that we just had that dependability on each other, and we believed in each other. And so, once we got to those points where we're breaking records and stuff like that, then we just got to that point where, like, nobody's messing with us. Like, we're here. Like, nobody saw it coming. Nobody saw SF State having that year. But yeah, it was. I think AJ had a lot to do with it as far as the chemistry, because he brought everyone together. So,
how many records do you guys recall? What records you guys broke? Because I was looking at it, it was like a long list of records.
Yeah, I don't remember all of them. I know we broke the record for best record in our school history. Most wins school history. We broke many stat records, like most points and most 3-pointers, all that stuff like that. But one of the things that I remember the most about that year is that people didn't really come. He's hungry, one of the things I remember the most is that, like, people wouldn't really come to games, like SSA games. Like, it was really, like, bleak crowd, like, not a lot of people there. But once we started picking up, every game was packed house. And, like, we started getting that attention, like, we're the dudes around here, like, like, we're doing it. People are coming to watch us play. But yeah, dude, it was a crazy atmosphere for us, for sure.
Having your brother, like, I know he's like a defensive anchor, and coaches probably loved it, like, putting both you guys in at the same time, because you guys had that chemistry.
Honestly, if he wasn't our center, I wouldn't be playing at the time. I did, like, you can ask any guy that plays basketball with me, like, defense is my weakest point. That's always my weakest point. But it was just perfect because AJ, we used to play like a matchup zone, which is another reason why I played power forward instead of center, because if I was playing man-to-man against power forwards, they're a lot quicker, a lot faster, so I wouldn't be able to man up with them. But we played a type of defense where, I could have help at all times. So somebody goes by me, AJ's always there, and he used to hate me for it, because I got to a point where I was just like, go ahead, just go by me. Like, AJ's there, just go by me. So, he hated it, but when it came to the other end of the floor, I was like, he held me down on defense, and I held him down on offense. So when they got down there, like, we'd have all these guys on our team that could score the ball. And, like, when it came, for me to do something, I would score a couple times at the post, get double teams. AJ would get dunks off of it, layups off of it, and it was just, we just fed off of each other, really.
I'd love to hear more about that, like the schematics of how you fit 2 6'9", 10 guys together. Are you running horns on offense?
Yeah, a lot of horn sets. It was super hard because, like, our guy Warren, he's so crafty. He's like a Kyrie Irving type of player. So it would just be him at the top, and then me and my brother on the horn set. And you'd go off one guy, I'd pop, AJ would roll. And if you double me, AJ has a dunk. If you go on AJ, I have a 3. If you do neither, Warren's just going to toast you. Like, he's just, you know what I mean? So I think that's another reason why we just had so many weapons. And it helped us be to that point, really.
So it's kind of transitioning into after college, post SF State, and now playing in these Punjabi tournaments, and, like, the media attention is still there of being recognized as a Sikh Punjabi college athlete and the impact that you're having on community. Can you go in depth about that, like the impact that you're having on the Punjabi community?
I think it helps a lot in different aspects. I think as a whole, for our younger kids to get into the aspect of being an athlete, a student athlete, I think we're still at ground zero. I don't think there's been any thing that's really put us to the top or anything like that. Because for me, only person I knew that played college basketball for me was Tony Gill. He played at University of the Pacific, and he was kind of like my mentor. He'd help me through everything. And now, after me, I know Anand Hunzo is playing at Seattle U right now. Yeah. I talked to him quite a bit, so that's big. But after that, I have a couple guys that play in Canada, like Vic and Vic Tour, Jazz Boswell. They're playing in Canada. But other than that, there's not that much hype as far as our players. And even with me and my brother, there wasn't hype about us. We just came out the blue out of nowhere. Tony had hype. Everyone knew him because he was doing things from a young age.
Yeah.
Me and my brother came from places that nobody would really see, so we came out the blue. So I think it can be inspiring, but I think the main problem when it comes to younger Punjabi kids is support system. I think that's tough, and we don't like to hear it, but I tell it all the time, our own don't support each other, and I've seen it firsthand. Our own, you go play somewhere and they'll be like, he's not that good, bro. He's not that good. He's not that nice. Like, But once you do something, they're always like, "Oh, that's my boy. Yeah, he plays there. That's my boy." All that stuff, and it's a problem in our culture, and people don't want to hear it, but you guys also know me. I'll say it. And that's the truth. Like, we don't have a lot of support from our own until we do something. Then everybody wants to hop on the bandwagon.
Yeah.
So we don't. You look at other cultures, other where they come from. Like, people are always fortunate, like pushing each other to do well. And for us, like, there's always this type of like jealousy or like thing where it's like, no, he can't have this famous thing to him or to anybody like that. So I think it comes to the support system. Obviously, our parents support us a ton, but even there's times where parents only want you to do certain things, right? And they tell you to be doctor, lawyer, engineer, or something like that. And just focus on that. Don't have fun. Don't pursue your dreams. And for me, my dream was to play college basketball, and I also want to be a lawyer, which I'm fulfilling both. And that should show that it's possible to do what you want to do, and to be able to do anything. Really, you should be able to do anything. And for me, I wanted to play pro basketball. I had an opportunity to play pro, but I decided to go to law school instead because I knew that's what I need to start focusing on now. Yeah. So, and I think, like, support system means everything. You can't do it on your own. And that's, especially in minority cultures, you can't do it on your own.
Yeah.
So I think that's the biggest thing for me, just having a good support system.
I guess, question for me, like you mentioned, I don't think exposure will be an issue for the younger athletes because ball is life, mixtapes. So I think kids will have that exposure ability to build their brand, but they don't have that support system, like you said, someone to drop them off to practice and say, you can go to this AAU tournament and forego school. So how do you serve as, I guess, a mentor for these kids coming up? Let's say in 5 years you're practicing law, you're established, and you start to build a pipeline to fix this issue. Because we're at ground zero, like you said.
Yeah. For me, honestly, it wouldn't be a direct conversation with the child. It'd be with their parents. And, like, nobody dropping them off at practice. My old coach used to tell us a story about how people want to have that dog in them to do things. There's kids in Oakland where he used to coach that take Bart to go to practice or go work out with a trainer or something. And we have us that, I feel like in our culture, we have a lot of kids that are privileged.
Yeah.
And a lot of kids that aren't humble to realize what they have. And also, like, they just think that they don't need to do certain things. And then at the end of the day, they're the same ones saying, like, we don't have any Punjabis in the NBA. We don't have any Punjabis in sports. And there's a time where you got to look at yourself and be like, what have you done to better that? Like, what have you done? And to the parents, too. And there's no disrespect to parents, but parents are the same way. Parents think that everything has to do with racism. Everything has to do, not that it's not an issue. It is an issue.
Right.
But, they think that, they just don't like Punjabis on their teams or they don't want stuff like that. Like, dude, no, maybe your kid sucks. Maybe that's the thing. Like, maybe your kid's just not good.
Put the work in.
Yeah, they don't put the work in. This kid rides his bike 45 minutes away to come work out every day. Your mom doesn't drop you off. Your dad doesn't drop you off because they just don't feel like it.
You're eating pronto at home.
Yeah, you're eating food at home. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just like it's a dynamic that needs to be talked about, and it's something that needs to be put out there that And I don't know if you guys think the same way, but I feel like everyone in our culture blames others, and in our community, everyone blames each other and other people for why they're not successful or why they can't do something. Whereas you're not doing anything yourself either. And if you do a certain amount, you give up after a while. Like, you have to be persistent. You have to. There's so many times where I felt like I should have stopped doing stuff. And for me, like, obviously, a lot of people don't think what I did was that, was that important. For me, that's huge because, like we said, we don't see people in our community do stuff like that. So, a lot of people aren't going to see it that way. But at the end of the day, I'm not doing it for other people. I'm doing it for myself and for my family. But one of the things, like I said, I want to talk to parents and kids together and put them in a place where they need to realize that the root issue is within yourself.
Yeah.
And that you need to do, if you really want to pursue it, you do what you want to do. And that's how I think it should be done.
And there's like a feedback loop there. Like, people make excuses, and then people around who are watching people do something will say, you're not doing anything.
Exactly.
And so to do something different than the norm, you have to have an ability not only to make the hard decision, but then also to block out the noise of everyone telling you, you're
tunnel vision.
You're not doing what we do.
Exactly.
So I think that's really important. I think someone like you could help establish that, give back because you had that personal experience. 100%. Like, for us, we have different experiences, so we can't personally help someone in that space.
Yeah.
We can help create tournaments and foundations and do the ancillary work, but it'll take you and maybe your friends or people you know to do the direct work with those
Yeah,
kids and their families.
yeah. No, I mean, I'd love to do camps and and just work with kids in general and just to help them kind of see how it's possible to do these things. Because, like I said, nobody thinks that we can do certain things, and it's just really it's what you view yourself and what you think you can accomplish and how far you can go with it.
And it's possible because just look at how big our Bhangra circuit is.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we talked about Bruin a little bit earlier. There's 12 teams going there, and pretty much every 30 miles or an hour you go up and down California, you can probably find some Bhangra coach, easily, or Doli or anything. But so now we have to start, building the infrastructure in other areas as well. I think,
100%.
So I think it's possible, but it'll have to redirect the resources of the community and make them think it's important.
One of the things that I realized is I play in the BC Prep in the Oops Canada tournament every year for the last couple of years. They have support systems. They have the infrastructure. They have everything there. And there's a bigger community in Surrey, Vancouver, stuff like that, but they have full gyms and full stuff built for kids to succeed, and that's why a lot of them play basketball there. And and I think that maybe I'm just speaking for a small community as far as where we are, but I think as far as I know, there was a lot of people that told me I'm not doing anything. Like a lot of people that told me that, all right, bro, like go ahead, keep trying. You're not gonna be able to do something with it. But there's no one out there that I've seen that people say like he's not gonna do well. Like they recognize those kids. They tell those kids like, if you need anything, let me know. I got you. I'll help you out. You need a gym, I'll open up the gym for you. And like just stuff like that makes them feel like, oh, I got the city behind me. I got my culture behind me, pushing me to do it. Because like if you think now, like a lot of kids that play, like they don't think like I'm trying to do it from Punjabis. I'm trying to put Punjabis on the map. They don't think like that because they feel like Punjabis don't care.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that we need to support each other. Like you said, there's so much support in the circuit. You're talking about Burnout circuit. There's so much support there, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's a great thing,
Yeah.
But there needs to be support in other things as well, as far as being a student athlete and other aspects of life too. Whatever career you might choose.
Yeah. I think you notice only people who talk down on you are the ones who aren't doing as much as you.
Oh yeah.
There's never someone who's like, fulfilled and secure in themselves that'll comment on you.
Yeah, and the ones that have done it that supported me, like Tony, like I was saying, Tony would always be there for me, no matter what it was. He would answer whatever I had a question I had as far as recruiting and stuff like that. He would be there, and he's the one that told me as well, like, you should be playing somewhere. So, like, for me, I'm not going to talk down on kids. Like, I know what it takes to get there. I know how hard it is. So I would be, that's for one of my things is, like, I believe one of my best qualities is always being able to help people, or always being, like, someone that's easy to talk to or someone that's easy to go to. And, like, I think that's really important as far as, whatever career you have to have somebody like that with you.
I can attest to that. When I was first running my tournament, the first person that helped me was Justin. Like, he would DM me everything, like every detail down to the point. Okay, you need to do this. This is what you should do. This is what I've done. So, yeah, definitely, man, that's a testament to your character. That's especially in our community, like you guys touched on very sensitive topics that need to be addressed, such as having a support system. You had your dad who had a basketball career.
Mm-hmm.
You had your trainer that helped you out, even when you felt like you had doubts about your career.
Yeah.
It really boosted your confidence. But there's people in our community that don't have that support system, especially by their peers. They're with them when positive things happen, but when the going goes bad, they're just going to criticize them, right?
Yeah.
Then my last episode with Volcati Coach, she was talking about the same thing, that they were there when things were good, but when I was first starting, like, I got so much criticism.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, and I'm not trying to say that people can't come up on their own, because you have to start within yourself anyways, right?
Exactly.
But it's helpful to have people around you that help people so much. Like, for instance, like with Joe, right? He's in his third year of law school. I'm my first year. Instantly has helped me every time I needed something, as far as like what I should do, internship, stuff like that. He's helped me out. And I've known Joe for less than a year, right? So just stuff like that, it helps you so much. Like when I go tell my parents something about like what I'm trying to do, and I'll be like, oh yeah, like Joe helped me out. Joe's going to law school at Berkeley. Like you know what I'm talking about.
It's turning into a love fest.
No, I mean it's just like realistic stuff that you have those people that surround you and help
definitely.
you, and that makes a big difference in the end.
And I think the kind of struggles that he's articulating about sports, athlete, law school is the same in every industry.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why we started the podcast, right? For someone like Arlene from Volcatico or Nakwal or Playground Studio, whoever we talk to is going to have that same question of, is my community supporting me? Am I doing the right thing? And being unsure of the different path that they're taking. So I think that's why it's important that we have Justin coming and these people come and speak about those unique struggles. So some kid who's 14, 15, who's interested in it will see that there's a path to get there.
Yeah, we don't have anybody mainstream, but that's not an excuse to kind of. This is why we're doing this, because we don't have anybody in mainstream that we look up to in our Punjabi community.
Yeah.
So it's our job to kind of change that stigma and kind of change the narrative behind our support system and what our reputation is as a Punjabi community.
Yeah, it's great that like the community supports me now. You know what I mean? Like they all show love and stuff now. But it's like I just wish that we would be able to get that same love when we're trying to get to where we're at.
Yeah, no, definitely. So we're gonna transition into like after you started playing after SF State and you graduated, playing in these Punjabi tournaments and how amazing experience that's been for you playing in these. You played everywhere, so kind of go in depth about your traveling and playing in different tournaments.
Yeah, so I started playing these tournaments at like a really young age when I was like 13, 14. I played in some outdoor tournaments. That's kind of where I kind of started playing with it. But one thing I noticed is the competitive drive. We're very competitive people as far as our community goes, right? So there was a lot of competitive drive, and I started playing like when I started playing in like junior, senior high school is when me and AJ kind of made a team as far as these tournaments go, just to have keep playing when the off season is or whatever it is, and just to go play with other Punjabi kids or older people too, like. And it's a great experience just because you get to, well, for one, it's a chance to go hang out, right?
Yeah.
For one, you get to go hang out with your friends. You have a weekend off. Like I know that's why a lot of the older guys still play because they just get to have a weekend off.
Yeah.
Like,
Think about the OGs like Gary Sidhu.
Yeah, Gary Sidhu,
he's at every tournament.
Exactly.
Young Kings champions.
Yeah, so it's like it's a great experience to go do that stuff, and you also see these days there's a lot of younger brackets that play, and so for them when they come. And they might hear about some people that play in college, or they watch the open division players and they see them. That gives them like, all right, like I want to be able to play like at a small scale. I want to be able to play in the open division sometime, whatever it might be. And I've been to Canada. I've been all over California. I went to Arizona last year, but that Canada tournament in Vancouver is the best tournament I've played in. There was over 60 pro and college players playing in it, and I need to win. I lost last 2 years. I need to win finally, but.
Follow-up question on that, because you mentioned Punjabi tournaments, and there's varying degrees of organization and how well they're run and stuff. So could you talk about what does it mean to run a good tournament? What are the elements that you need?
I don't know where to start with that one.
What are the ones that have had good elements?
Yeah, I mean, when I think of a good tournament, I think of Canada, the Canada one, not just because of the players though, because of the way they was organized. Like for me, it's very important to have good referees. That's something because you can have a great gym, great players, everything looks great, but referees can easily change an entire tournament by themselves. Like you'll have players that just don't think that. I mean, everyone hates referees at one point, right? But if they're like so bad, like because there's people that throw tournaments and just give like their boys a little bit of money to ref it, and just because they played basketball at 24 one time, you know what I mean? And they're reffing tournaments, and that makes a huge impact on everything. And it's fun because if there's people coming in that don't know how to ref. Like say they're allowing people to play super physical and like at a bad level to the point where like all right now people that are like can't even dribble the ball or anything like that, and it changes the way you play your game. So I think for me referees is very important, and I just think that sponsors helps a lot. Having sponsors to help you fund those type of things, that means a lot. But one of the things that's happening, these last couple of years, as far as like Punjabi tournaments around here, is starting to die down a lot. A lot of teams aren't entering anymore, and I feel like that that thing has to do with the younger kids wanting to play more. Because I know before I was playing, they used to have like 16 team tournaments, and like now we're like struggling to get 8 teams to enter a tournament. So I think it goes back to the youth. I think it goes back to getting them to have more passion for the game, play the game, and stuff like that. But yeah, man, tournaments are very tough to throw. I mean, he knows he threw one for the first time, and it's tough to do. It's tough to deal with people that think they're always right when you're throwing tournaments. Teams there that think they should be doing things a certain way when it's this way, and But I think when you're throwing a tournament, you just you're gonna be the bad guy to somebody. At all, somebody. No, it's very hard for every person that enters a tournament to be like he did everything right. Somebody's gonna think something's wrong. Somebody might lose in the first day and be like, "Bro, he gave us a stupid schedule or something." Like, you know what I mean? Like, but it's just like you have to.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our teams just don't show up. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, but no, man, it's very tough to do. So, like, I give props to everybody that does it. And that's why when you were throwing your first one, that's why I told you I'll help you out. Because I get it. And I think one of your biggest issues was being able to stand strong on what you want to do. And, you know, and that's, like I said, not everyone's going to like what you do.
Because you guys, like, so many personalities coming out of you.
Exactly.
You.
But at the end of the day, they're coming to your tournament. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
They're coming playing. If you let them do it the way they want to do it,
they're just going to take advantage of you.
Yeah, take advantage of it at all times.
So kind of transitioning into our last portion of this interview is about just giving a shout out about your tournament and what the audience hopes to expect.
Yeah, so I'm throwing a tournament in San Francisco. It's going to be a national tournament, first California national tournament, I believe. But it's going to be pretty big. I'm holding it at SF City College. So it's going to be a pretty big gym.
Big turnout.
Yeah, it's going to be a pretty big gym. It's a lot of good players coming out for that one. And, you know, especially my thing is there's a lot of teams coming from Canada and East Coast.
Yeah.
So people that are from here who don't see these players that play over there, I would definitely come check it out just to see, like, because for them, they're used to seeing, like, me and my brother and, like, all the teams that play here, right? So when you see these guys come from all over the continent to come play in your tournament, you see different faces, you see different play styles. Like, New York plays a lot different than California plays. So you'll see all these new, you know, different. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they like to dribble the ball a lot, do a lot of ISO moves like that. But it's gonna be cool, man, because a lot of people they want to come to California, but no one really does it out here as far as national tournaments, and I want to make it an experience for these people that come out here, not just about tournament. You know, I want them to be able to enjoy San Francisco and be able to, you know, go out during the day, go out during the night, whatever they want to do. And really, I'm trying to do live streaming for the game, so you can see every game online for people that aren't here. And yeah, I think it'll be pretty good, man. I think a lot of people will come out, and you know, we'll build on that every year.
For sure, for the audience, I will drop the flyer in the next post below. But we're gonna take a quick commercial break. Please enjoy this beat by our buddy Wise Child. Find him on SoundCloud at Wise Child. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the King's Table. We're here with Jashandeep, Kahlon. This is the last part of our podcast, the rapid fire section. So Justin doesn't know what's coming. We're going to ask him a bunch of questions. Rapid fire, so you just answer them. We're going to ask him a couple questions. First thing that comes to your head.
Okay.
All right, who's better, you or Ajay?
Me.
Outside of oh damn,
That's great.
you're lucky you can't talk right now. He can't defend himself.
I hope he doesn't. Oh man, he's gonna see us if he can. Whatever.
This is the clip you post.
Yikes! I don't want to hear from him. Outside of you and your brother, who would you consider one of the best Punjabi athletes you have played against?
Tony Gill.
What about Gary Sidhu?
Gary Sidhu's up there as well.
I heard Tony Gill still cooking people in the Bahamas.
Yeah, probably.
In his temples.
Only.
That's the story I heard.
Only reason I said Tony Gill because when Gary was in his prime, I wasn't playing. So, but I heard a lot about Gary.
Yeah, I mean those guys I grew up watching too. Like
yeah, I didn't play when he was playing, but like I know he's like 40 now and is still one of the best out. So, but for me personally, I probably played against Tony the most. So and you know obviously he's one of the best to do it. So I would give Tony Gill.
Favorite teammate? Punjabi tournament or high school or college? Favorite teammate?
That's tough. I got a couple of them.
Someone gonna be mad.
Yeah, no, I say for. How about I just give you for each level?
All right, for sure.
Not including my brother, right?
Yeah, not including your
So
brother.
high school, I'll probably say Cameron Valles from Stockton. JUCO, I say Vincent Golson. We call him Tutu. So from Oakland, so that's my boy. And then probably from SF State, I say Warren Jackson.
What about Punjabi tournament?
You know, it's funny. I actually don't like my team right now. So this is really interesting.
Yeah, if it's one thing I know about Justin, he will call you out. Like last
yeah.
tournament, brought Baines, man, he was giving his team.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. I felt bad later. But it was pretty bad. But man, AJ's probably my favorite teammate as far as tournaments go. But if not including him, I'll go with Vic Tool.
Wow.
Justin's a master GM too.
Yeah.
You got people from different teams, different
You
cities.
know,
Different countries.
You understand how many people hit me up like, bro, why do you do this? Like, why do you get these people to come play? Like,
Funniest or craziest teammate?
2-2.
Punjabi tournament?
Jazz Baldwin.
Yeah, for sure.
He's funny.
We know about it. Craziest story you would have at your time at SF State.
PG-13 story.
We might as well go to the next question. No, I'm just kidding. But
Okay, Russ.
no. I'll say probably the craziest story. I'd probably say experience was going to the NCAA tournament. That was probably the craziest thing that I've seen, just because it was so like you work with NCAA for a little, right? So you see how like strict every single thing is, and like how on point everything has to be. How like that was probably my crazy experience I had there. Obviously, I went out a lot with my teammates and stuff. So
we don't have to talk about that.
Yeah,
we can. Your 4th of July video. So I came across this like before I even met you, and this went viral. Like not only on Twitter but NBC. Can you talk about like how that happened or what was going on?
So honestly, we were just having a 4th of July party, and like the neighbors across the street. This is actually at my boy's house, like down the street from my house. We were all just playing music outside, and they just started dancing to our music, and we started putting on their music, and we just kept going back and forth. And I honestly just recorded it. I put it on my Snap story because I thought it was funny. And then, I just tweeted it out. I didn't even think about like going viral and something like that. I just tweeted it out because I was like, people need to see how funny this is.
Were they Hispanic? What were they?
Yeah, Hispanic, yeah. And so once, that happened, it just blew up. It was just getting crazy retweets and likes, and
it still gets retweets sometimes.
Yeah, it's still. I haven't muted it still. So I don't even, but yeah, no, it's
crazy. NBC Bay Area reported this.
Yeah,
too.
yeah, they did a thing on it, and they called me, and I kind of lied on it. They were like, I ain't gonna lie, I kind of lied on it. They were like, oh, like, how important is it to have something like this? Like, what do you think you did by doing this? And I was like,
I just played music.
I'm a visionary.
No, honestly, I replied, like, I couldn't even hold in my laughter when I was doing the thing. And I was just like, I just think that, with the political climate these days, this is something that can, show love and peace in the United States between two minorities. And
they ate that up.
They ate it up, bro. And I just, like, remember saying, like, why did I say that? I was like, all right, bro. I just took it, like, all right, it's cool.
All right, going to our last question. Favorite 3 players, NBA retired or current?
Are we doing modeled off of game or like personality?
How about this? You do your starting 5.
No, I can't do that. That's
modeled after personality. Let's do that one.
Okay, off personality, Kawhi Leonard, number 1.
Damn, so boring.
He's boring, but he's funny when he does something though. Like anything he says is just funny. But I'll probably say Kawhi. Yeah, just he's up. I don't know what specific order, but he's up there just because he handles his business. Yeah, he's very different from me as far as like talkative. Yeah, but I like Dame a lot. Dame Lillard as far as personality. Swag. He's about his business, but he talks his talk. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's what I like. But yeah. He talks his talk, but he holds it down. He's always behind his word. He's up there for me. I wouldn't put DeMarcus Cousins in this category as far as personality.
That's basically the NBA version of you.
Yeah, no. As far as game, as far as like players in game, I love DeMarcus Cousins.
Yeah,
like, I know he gets a lot of downplay in the media for his personality. I like De'Aaron Fox. I like his personality a lot.
Of course you would.
Yeah, I'm a Kings fan. It's biased, but I like De'Aaron Fox a lot.
He's a leader.
Yeah, he's a leader at a young age, and he also has like this goofy, like non-celebrity side to him. Like when you see him, I haven't seen him, but like when you just see these videos of him or like whatever it is, he just acts like a normal person.
Yeah, like Fortnite.
And
Speaking of Kings, you guys got Luke Walton. How do you guys feel about that?
I felt pretty good until the news came out yesterday.
Oh yeah.
How does our hand-me-down feel?
What was your guys' record this year?
I asked.
Okay.
We're injured this year.
Oh yeah, we've been injured for the last 13. So. But I don't know. I mean, I didn't know how I felt at first, but my brother, who's like super into like stuff like this, he was telling me how like Luke Walton had the Lakers with the fastest pace in the NBA and like shooting the most threes. They weren't making them, but they were
Fox
shooting.
And Buddy would light it up.
Yeah, that's what he was saying. He was like, you put the Kings at number 2, but they're gonna be number 1 next year with pace, and they make a lot more threes than the Lakers do. So.
Yeah. He's good with young coaches, but X's and O's after that.
Hopefully he handles his business off the court. You know, whatever you got to do, but we'll see.
All right, that wraps up this episode of the Kings Pod. Thank you, Justin, for joining us. Any last words?
Thank you for joining us to the King's Table.
Check out his tournament. Tell the date. Tell the venue.
July 26th to 28th, San Francisco City College. Instagram is at West Coast Hoops SF. So check it out.
I'll drop it in the link below. Thank you for joining us. We out.